Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Deck Builder with this week's episode of the Market Monday. On a Monday, look at that. We're wearing the grown-up pants today and actually doing Market Monday on its time slot. So let's start off by talking about the ban and restricted announcement that was placed today, and then we'll get back into Double Masters and the free fall in pricings. And I'm going to try to make an argument. I know there is a lot of other information out there about or conflicting opinions about Double Masters, and I'm going to try to show my work here and exactly what I've been talking about with the Double Masters and how this is going to be more of a collapse than we even saw from Ultimate Masters. So we'll get into that in a second. First, let's talk about the ban and restricted announcement. So we have Wilderness Reclamation, Growth Spiral, Growth Spiral. Remember when all of you scrubs made fun of me on this channel when I said the Growth Spiral was the problem? That these cantrip, instant speed cantrip type cards just warp. It's things like when you have Ponders and Preordains and Manamorphoses and Growth Spirals. Those are the problematic cards that just set up so many. This is just a free card in your graveyard. It's just it ramps you. It draws you a card. It cantrips. Any sort of prowess trigger. These type of cards are always problematic, and everyone just told me what a scrub I was. Well, Growth Spiral, as we saw, was about 75% dominant in the last tournament. Every deck that could play it was playing it. Even decks that had no business really wanting Growth Spiral just played it because it's one of those easy free cards that sets you ahead in the game. So glad this card is gone. I think it was a very problematic card. The instant speed is what really put it over the top, making this very good card for like decks that wanted to interact with what your opponent's doing rather than the difference between this and like Explorer or a sorcery speed one is you had to play it during your main phase and you're tapped out. This way you could leave up counterspell mana or flash, anything with flash. And then Growth Spiral into turn, which is huge. That is so big in Magic, instant versus sorcery. Anyway, before we get into talking more detail, that'll be a video for another day to really talk about these particular cards. We have Teferi Time Raveler and we have Cauldron Familiar. What I want to state about the standard, this really should shake it up. This is every tier 1 deck basically gets hit besides Mono Red and Mono Green Stompy. Cauldron Familiar I'm a little bit iffy about because I never felt like the deck was backbreaking, plus it's losing its key card in the Devil. It's losing Mayhem Devil and it's losing the Priest. So I'm not sure that Cauldron Familiar will be that backbreaking. Yes, it still has that combo, Witch's Oven, but Witch's Oven Cauldron Familiar is just a good combo. It's not like insanely backbreaking, especially with all the anti-graveyard stuff like Scavenging Oozes sticking around. That is very, very good against this combo. And we've had a lot of other cards that are we've seen like a transition of Wizards putting like Destroy Artifact on a card that could easily be in your main. So cards like I'm trying to think of the Godzilla card, the one that has where it evolves, it destroys an artifact, and it's just a good card by itself anyway. So therefore, that was like preying on the Cauldron Familiar type stuff. So this one's a weird ban, in my opinion. The other three, though, is too little too late. And what this is signaling is what I mentioned before, is Arena is in a bad spot. Arena viewership is down, like the Twitch viewership and the participation is down to like record low numbers right now. And we should be seeing high numbers with the with the quarantine still going on in many states and social distancing. We should see Arena be a favorite pastime, and it's not. This Arena is getting crushed by other games that have been coming out, and it is mainly due to the fact because of how miserable, especially this two combo pair is, Wilderness Reclamation and Growth Spiral, but also cards like Teferi Time Raveler, which was just a problematic card to begin with. I could see a card with just the +1 and the -3, but the static ability shuts down so many cards, and it plays a lot of gotcha. There's a lot of interaction with new players, like the Fire or the Finale, the Red Finale, for example. Teferi shuts it down. You can't actually cast those cards. The Chandra it says you may cast a card from your graveyard with one of its negative abilities. That is considered making it like an instant, like a flash type of effect on it. So Teferi actually stops those from being able to resolve. So all of that is just made this card not only a very oppressive card, but a very miserable card to play against. It also shuts down any sort of flash thing. And so in the control matchups, it's like who can resolve it. Teferi oftentimes is the so far ahead. So yeah, Teferi, and Growth Spiral Wilderness Reclamation, those are cards that probably should have gone a long time ago. And people are shaking their head because rotation is in a month and a half away. It's like really right now Standard dies anyway. No one cares to play it because it's just so stale. I mean, even the best metas, people are just like, there's not enough time to really care about Standard. We're looking towards the future, and maybe this is just a signal that people can start brewing right now to see what's good to actually prepare for Zendikar rotation because these very oppressive cards are now out of the mix. Pioneer gets a little more tricky. I'm pretty upset with the Inverter of Truth banning because I think it should have been Oracle. And they're like, well, Inverter would have been still had a combo piece. So what? If a combo deck is tier 2 or tier 3, that's fine. We should allow combo decks to exist if they're like that. And there still should be like an Inverter of Truth combo, in my opinion. Thassa's Oracle is the problem. It goes in many different decks. It's too easy to enable, and it is most likely going to be the card that will need to be banned in the future with more cards that just go through your deck and just... I mean, there are already decks where you get rid of half your library and then... Or just self-milling is quite easy. There was another deck I was playing that self-milling was it was like a dredge-based strategy that I was playing in, a Sultai dredge-based strategy, and I self-milled very, very quickly. And I was thinking about putting Inverter even in that deck because of how quickly I went down to no cards. So Inverted Truth is just with the Thassa's Oracle. I get it. It's just that 1-2 punch, but I would rather see Thassa's Oracle banned because I think that it's going to be the card that's the problem in the future. Kethis, the Hidden Hand. Yeah, I think they'd have to ban too many cards before Kethis is just broken. And it also is going to hurt design space in the future with being able to enable this stuff. And it did start to look like it was taking more of the meta share. So Kethis is banned. Walking Ballista is an interesting one. Walking Ballista is typically a card that goes in a lot of different decks. You'll even see it in like mono black from time to time. And it also is in hardened scales. So I'm thinking that banning Walking Ballista hurts more cards across the board. And if they're really worried about that Heliod Walking Ballista combo, they should have axed the Heliod because Walking Ballista wasn't that big of a problem beforehand. I understand that this card just gets broken with more and more cards. Say they print like Basilisk Collar in the deck again. And they have the Archangel Thune, Walking Ballista, Basilisk Collar. I don't know. Well, I guess, or you wouldn't even, not Archangel Thune. The other one that gives +1 counters every time that you gain life. There's a card out of Amonkhet, I want to say, that does kind of the heal out effect. Anyway, yeah, if you give Walking Ballista lifelink and any card that then gives +1 counters, yeah, it goes infinite. And Walking Ballista is very easy to get infinite with many different cards. Like I've had Walking Ballista be my infinite combo in like a God Pharaoh's gift deck before, and many other these type of cards where you can just cast it for 0, and then it if it enters with the +1 counter and you have ways to recur it. I get it. There's a lot of ways to break Walking Ballista. However, I think that it's an overall a pretty fair card. Like putting in something like Stony Silence in the format might help against Walking Ballista. And it's kind of funny that the direction they went with both Inverter and Walking Ballista, rather than banning the newer cards that broke these ones, they went and got the old school card. So instead of Thassa's Oracle, they did Inverter, and instead of Heliod, they did Walking Ballista. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. Maybe it is just too powerful for Pioneer, and maybe this is a way of just dumbing down the power level of Pioneer. And then, which is funny because they're trying to change Pioneer back to pre-Theros, because these are really the cards from Theros that busted the format. So Theros was a huge mix-up for, it created 3 top-tier decks with the Underworld Breach, with the Heliod, and with the Thassa's Oracle. So this is like, hey, Theros was a mistake, let's go back before pre-Theros. Historic, who cares, no one plays it, and Brawl, same thing, no one plays it, who cares. So this is showing a change in strategy from Wizards of the Coast being more... I think they're being more aggressive with bans, and I particularly am in this camp that they should be more aggressive with bans. I know that a lot of people hate it because they invested in cards, but if you want to keep a healthy format, the only way, you can't do erratas in Magic. You can't be like in Hearthstone, be like, oh, the cost of this is a bit too high, let's just add 1 mana to it and see what happens. You can't do that when something is printed in paper, and that's always going to be a struggle for Magic the Gathering, is they can either be super conservative when designing cards, and then it ends up being like more boring cards, and they can't really try something, that's A lot of times people overestimate cards, thinking it's going to break the format when it actually doesn't, and same thing. They think that it's not going to break the format, like a card is trash, and then it ends up being like an insane card, like Arclight Phoenix, for example. That was a good example of people that thought it was a terrible card, and then when it actually came to being played, it ended up being, pretty backbreaking. So I agree with this. If things get out of control, the best way to combat it is to ban it. The other thing I want to talk about is they did announce this thing that they're calling Pioneer Masters in Q4. So far, it does allude to this is just something that is going to be like Arena and MTGO focused. But oh man, if this is another paper set, we are in for a run. And speaking of a run, we are in for a bear run here for a long time. Let's go back to the topic at hand, what I've talked about many, many times on this channel, which has been the theme, which is the incoming bear market of double masters. Ultimate Masters caused us like a 6-month bear market across the board. The singles prices were just obliterated. The sealed prices were also obliterated. While it seemed like all of the money that was usually spent on Magic the Gathering as a whole was funneled into Ultimate Masters because it was a better purchase than anything else. And let me clear up a lot of the comments on the YouTube. I don't know why I have to talk about this over and over and over. Maybe I should just ignore these people because they're never going to get it. They're just going to hear what they want to hear and never going to actually listen to what's being said. I do not think that Double Masters is a terrible product. The inclusion, I've said multiple times, they could have put Fetch Lands and Black Lotuses in this product, and it would still be a bad buy due to the supply and this just being too soon dropped on the market. That's it. That's the point. It doesn't matter what they decided to include in this set. This was a set that the market could not absorb, and is going to cause problems. There is a finite amount of money that can be spent on Magic the Gathering, and Magic's biggest competitor is themselves, is there other products that compete with the products they put out. So if Magic puts out too many products, and especially when they give a clear winner like this product, it is going to funnel all the money, and eventually if the supply is too high for this, it's going to crash the market as a whole. There is a tightrope balance that Wizards has to play. Now, people can argue till they're blue in the face about how low prices is good for the game, but again, it is good and bad. This is a collectible card game. People think that they have value, resale value in their cards. There's also a price that's associated with Double Masters. You are paying upwards of $300 a booster box, and it should be $125 for VIPs, but the market's already told us that the VIPs are not worth the markup that is just a traditional 40% markup from distributor price. Keep in mind that stores are paying anywhere between 72-ish to about 80 for these Double Masters VIPs. So when they're having to sell them for 100, that is not the margins that Wizards of the Coast was expecting to have its strategic partners make with VIPs. This was in my opinion at that point, a failed product when you can't get those reasonable markups. Jumpstart, Mystery, Unsanctioned, all of those were able to sell at reasonable markups. Double Masters so far has not been able to sell for reasonable markups. So, by definition, this product is not doing what it's intended because probably the supply is too high. This is crazy for a set that's coming out this quickly of it already going below those reasonable markups. Ultimate Masters did not see this. We saw $400 to $500 boxes at this same time period, and that's where I was warning people, do not pay this price for the Ultimate Masters because the supply was too high. Double Masters, the supply, in my opinion, is even higher than Ultimate Masters, especially with these VIP packs entering in the mix, and it is going to crash the market regardless of these quote-unquote home run hits that they put in this set. And I've made the argument that these are not home runs. Many of these have been reprinted in the last year. What I said before in my other videos, if Ultimate Masters was a standard set, it would still be legal. It wouldn't even rotated by now. So that is how quickly they dropped Double Masters on us with Ultimate Masters still in the mix. To make matters even more problematic is they also dropped Commander 2020 and Commander 2019, and we had the Mystery and Jumpstart. It seems that there was no communication between who is designing these sets and the targets they decided to include. Double Masters, Jumpstart, and Mystery seem to be more focused on getting reprints into the mix, and they all ended up choosing many of the exact same reprints, especially in that lower rare and uncommon slot, where many of these cards have just recently been reprinted and were reprinted again. I was very surprised at some of these like $2 to $3 cards that were just recently reprinted in Mystery. And especially when you look down here on some of the more chase commons and uncommons that you'd think that would hold some value, they are just recently reprinted. There's the Grim Lava Master type cards. There's many of these cards that I was just clicking on trying to look at these like foil spreads, because the foil spread is absolutely abysmal. Grand Architect, there's another one that was recently reprinted. Thragtusk. Dualcaster Mage, Master of Ethereum. There's so many cards that I can't remember what that one actually was, that have just been recently reprinted in Mystery that is going to affect the overall price and is not getting the expected value of where Wizard of the Coast even wanted this set to be. So that was a mouthful. I get it's a mouthful, and it's just me just beating the same drum. At this point, beating the dead horse, because I've made this point over and over again. It is not really the contents. It is the choice of the contents and just the double reprinting of these, but it's also just the massive supply of this set. So I have created this Google Sheets. I'll have to link it earlier. I need to fix it because I had it color coded for some of the first ones. You saw this on some other video of where the cards are at, and it's actually going down further than I thought that some of these cards would go. So in this column, I have all of the cards that by name here. And then I have what their last printing was before this set was dropped on us. So in this column here is the last printing that it was worth. What its 2-year low was, because a 2-year low, historically, when a card gets reprinted, you can always do about 65% of the 2-year low, and that's where the card usually goes down to. So you'll see some of these cards that get reprinted over and over, like Soul Ring and Lightning Greaves and those type of cards. When they get a reprint, that's usually where they settle. Is 65% of their 2-year low is where they bottom out, because that's usually where these high demand reprints, that's like your best case scenario. That's where the market can then start to absorb them. They lose about 35% of their value. Then I have a key factors. Again, I need to update this because I was just frantically trying to get all the mythics and all the rares that were over $10. By the way, there's your list of rares that are over $10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards. 11 cards that are currently over the $10 mark. So anyway, this column is 2-year low. The D column here is the current value of the cards, and these are subject to change. And keep in mind, the supply was I did this on Sunday night, the supply was actually incredibly low on TCU Player. I'm expecting today the TCU Player and other vendors, and even like eBay, these prices are going to get crushed even more, because today is when the mass supply is actually going to hit the markets. Some of these people had their supply early. That's like the top tier. Like, distributors try to get their A customers, their most important customers out quicker so they can have everything, especially if they're more online sellers. They try to, get those out so they can get them up. Actually, it's illegal. Well, not illegal, but against the WPN to be selling singles and to be shipping singles. You can sell them, but you're not supposed to ship until it gets to the customers by August 7th. That is the release date. You're not supposed to have product in the hands of customers until 7th. So a lot of these people that have been opening booster boxes, if they're not stores, if they're selling cards and they're not stores, have been getting this product that is subject to WPN scrutiny. Now, Wizards is terrible at actually enforcing this, but that's kind of like that's just showing though that a lot of people that are following the rules that we haven't had the mass supply actually enter into the mix yet. So it's just all pre-sales, and a lot of times people are very conservative with their pre-sale numbers because they don't know exactly how much they are going to open up of every card. But we have seen places like Card Kingdom really start to get aggressive with their double master sales, and I'll show some examples in a second where like Card Kingdom is actually the lowest price where you can get some of the cards. Not sponsored. I mean, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that usually Card Kingdom's the highest if you're going to be comparing prices. Alrighty, so let's look at some of these examples. We have let's go down here. There's like Archangel Thune. They're the last printing of, and this card should get crushed because of the Walking Ballista banning. The last printing was 28. Its 2-year low is 15. It's currently at 14, so 65% of the 2 years should put it at 10. 14 is pretty. It's already hit a 50% value decrease. Some of these that got hit the hardest were like Karthus, Tyrant of Jund, which is a $20 card before the mystery booster box reprinting. Its 2-year low is 13. It is now a $2 card because of the mystery. $2 for a mythic. That is one of the mythics that you can just lose your shirt on. Another one like Maelstrom Nexus is another currently $2 card, mythic card. It was 16.15 and then got the, I think it got a double reprinting as well. That is the issue with many of these cards from Double Masters, is they chose low supply cards. We have a card called Mana Echoes. There it is, Mana Echoes. That was a $52 card, which is currently $20, and I'm expecting this card to get crushed even more. Skittles is down to $20. It's lost more than half its value. All the swords have lost a ton of their value. Look, you have like Sword of War and Peace that's $12. Lion Shadow 28, Sword of Fire and Ice is 36, Feast and Famine 35, and Body and Mind at 12. And expecting most of these to go down even more. We have Vengevines that are actually selling even lower than I anticipated, already at the $5 mark. The 2-year low 65% was 8. And we have Wormcoil Engine also that's headed towards going down, which I think can even go down even further. At this G, I did an adjusted value. This is where I added 10% or minus 10%, up to 20% of like supply issues or if it's a modern card, and I need to fill the rest of these in. This is just the original ones that I started to do, but I gave my predictions on some of these cards. Maybe I've missed the boat now and can't predict, but I'll try to update these particular ones. But I have even cards like Force of Will that might even go down to $40 card. Like that's where I'm anticipating with the supply that this is where Force of Will is going to. My prediction is the most expensive card when the dust settles is going to be the Mana Crypt. Mana Crypt will be, I have it 85. The two-year low says it should go down to 70, 72. It's currently at 90. I can see this one holding value because once it does hit a reasonable price, people are like, I can afford one and buy it. And there are so many commander decks that could use a Mana Crypt. Like everyone could use one. I'm surprised it's not banned yet in Commander because it's probably the most powerful card in Commander and enables a lot of degenerate stuff, but I think it's just too late for them to try to ban something that's so stable in the format. So I think that actually the best ones long term are going to be like Doubling Season. I think Doubling Season is going to be like Mana Crypt and Doubling Season that have the best chance of actually holding their value. And a lot of these cards are just going to get crushed beyond belief, and especially if they're like the more modern type cards, they're going to have a very, very tough time stabilizing and then actually recovering and continue to show that downward spiral. As we proved in other videos, Ultimate Masters was still losing value on its competitive cards by the time that they were reprinted in the Ultimate Masters. Cards like Noble Hierarch was still going down. And when this was dropped on us, talk about a card that has just bottomed out. It's now down to $16 for the Noble Hierarch, and I've seen the the box topper version go as low as $35. And so that's not a good sign for these foil box toppers from the VIP editions. So all in all, this is just we are seeing a massive supply issue that the market cannot handle. That is where I keep just trying to hit it home. Who cares what's in the set? Yes, they put enough. They put plenty. This is Chandra's Spellbook. Chandra's Spellbook had some criticism by like Tulane Community College that, the cards weren't good enough. Yes, they were. They put $45 of value in a product that was supposed to be selling for $20. The problem is the supply of spellbooks was proven to be too high. Gideon's Spellbook was not a bad spellbook. It had some great cards like Rest in Peace and Path to Exiles and Martyr's Bond. Those type of cards were great. It had $40 worth of value when it was reprinted. But the supply was so high that distributors are trying to get rid of it for they even put like another discount on just to try to get rid of Gideon's Spellbook. It doesn't matter with the contents of the set if you have 3, 4, 5 times your expected value of what the box is going to cost. If the supply is high, it's going to come back down to Jesus. And this is exactly where these sets are doing. So let's look at here, now that I have my last stuff up. This was done last night. It might be worse now. I'll have to do some updated price. The total value of the pre for $10, this is the $10 and above cards currently from Rares, and the Mythics was $1,969. So almost $2,000 worth of values they put in Chase Rares. And this isn't box EV. This is the total value of cards that they reprinted. Was around $2,000. And maybe that was where they were kind of expecting to go with these higher end cards. Mind you, a lot of like rares that should have been worth more than $10 or were worth more than $10, many of these $20 rares do not even hit the $10 mark right now because that's the metric that's got crushed the most. The categories that have been hit the hardest with these Double Masters reprinting were definitely the Jumpstart / Mystery Booster Box reprintings. That's where you see cards like the Send Triplets go from 35 to 6. It's because out of Mystery reprinting. Same thing with when you go up to the Karthus. Karthus, that was a huge decrease. Geth Lord of the Vault had a Commander 2019 reprinting, so it was too soon for something like Geth Lord of the Vault. And that one got crushed even more. But anyway, that was the total value of all the mythics plus some of the chase rares was 1,969. The average mythic currently is $22.61 is where the average mythic. If you were to add all the mythics together and give an average value, they're down to $22.61 for that mythic. So when the EV, we need to know the whole run of the EV calculations, like the chance of getting the foil mythic / foil rares, what the foil multiplier is. That one is all like, that's what's really, really tough to do an EV calculation right now. That's why I've seen some other people try and fail, because those numbers aren't like very good right now. So once we do get a good foil multiplier, which I think will be somewhere in between 1.1 and 1.3, I could actually see it even going down to negative. We've seen some cards like the cheapest Dark Confidant last night was a foil version of the Dark Confidant. It actually wasn't even a regular version. And we've had speculation that the non-foil box toppers, since the only way you can get them is in double masters, will be worth more than the foil box toppers because you can get those in the VIPs. That they wanted to do the exact opposite, but it might actually be the VIP's total number of box toppers will be higher than the total number that come out of the regular booster boxes. So right now that's what it's looking, because there tends to be more VIPs. You're going to get more supply from VIPs than you are from double masters. However, that is rumored to be because of printing issues. The VIPs were all released in one batch, and this is all the VPs that is available, where there's rumors there's going to be more double masters booster boxes. In fact, some of the distributors have been pretty optimistic. They've actually allowed for some pre-orders, back orders being done on the double masters boxes, because they do expect more to be coming. Anyway, that could be the only thing that actually changes that sort of ratio. But right now, it does tend to look that the foil VIPs are going to be more common than are the foil box toppers than the non-foil box toppers. So that is what's making it very, very tough to do a set EV. So all these people that have come up with this 600 booster box value, or this VIP at around the 200, is very, very misleading, especially with these prices. They're absolutely going to crash. People have been using stuff like Force of Will. They'll be like, oh, look, Force of Will from the, oh, look at this, a $400 card. If you open this $400 card in Double Masters, that adds a huge EV to the VIP packs, when in reality, there's just no one that's posted many Force of Wills. It does have a market price. So how TCG Market works is like the last X amount that are sold. So people actually have been buying these for $350. They are absolutely crazy, in my opinion, to be spending $350 on a card that is not rare. This is not the same rarity as this Amonkhet Invocation. The Amonkhet Invocation is $350, people. Amonkhet Invocation is insanely rare to get this. Insanely rare card. This is not a rare card. You're going to see, I mean, how many openings on YouTube have we seen this being pulled in the last few days of this Force of Will, especially when you have the foil and the non-foil version of it. It's not that rare. This card is going to get absolutely crushed, and come down to where it is. The price is, plus this is another card. Yeah, the good thing is Commander does play it quite often, and it will have this where the price tag comes down. But this is a card that's this legacy vintage. Yes, it has a collectible value because it's one of the most powerful cards ever printed. But come on, at some point when they print these cards, the collectability of this card goes down. Yeah, people are saying this is a card that people can actually play in their decks because it doesn't have Therese Nielsen, but it depicts Therese Nielsen. So when are the frothers going to come for this card and demand you rip it up? So I don't know. Anyway, we won't get into that subject before people cry and get me canceled. Alrighty, so let's go back over to the Double Masters price. We have the total 2-year value. So this is the 2-year value of the low of if you added all those cards together, is about 1,276. So they did include a bunch of cards that had some great growth. It almost had around 30 to 40% growth within that 2-year window of where these cards were and where they ended up. The total current value of all the cards added together is $1,064.50, and that is 54% of the value of the total pre-value. So it's already dropped around 46%. The total projected value, I haven't added all the cards, so don't worry about this number. I needed to add more of these and then give a percentage of that. Didn't have time to actually do that. But the metrics that I want to really showcase, the cards that have been doing the most, the ones that have lost between 35 to 45%, is the high demand commander cards. Lots of them that haven't had the greatest amount of or have had actually higher supply and have proven themselves. Those are the cards that are holding their best in the field. So we can actually kind of look at some of these cards that haven't had over a 50% decrease. Force of Willow is one of them. Doubling Season is another one that hasn't had a 50% decrease. We have Chrome Mox that it slightly has not had its 50% decrease, 40 versus 75. We had Bystial Colossus, which is hanging on there, which I think will get hit even harder. Cards like Land Tax have a higher than 50%. Mana Crypt. These are the cards that have been able to hold their value the highest. The metrics that have got hit the worst are definitely the low supply reprinted cards. So this is things like the Karthuses, the Mana Echoes. These have had upwards of a 55% decrease. And the cards that have really been hit hard, if you want to see this card, this value keep going lower and lower, started adding the rares under $10. Most of the rares under $10 have already seen between a 60 and an 80% decrease in value. Many of them even get hit harder because, of course, they're going to be kind of the throw-ins. We've seen many cards that were in that $3 to $5 already go down to bulk prices. We're talking 50 cents and low, and I think that's where they're going to end up settling. So, all in all, there is some silver lining to the set. This is going to add I would say, anywhere between 2 to 6 months, this is going to add an opportune time to buy into these particular cards. However, I want to give some warning here. If Wizards does go ahead and they decide to say, hey, let's do a Pioneers Masters, let's do Commander, let's continue on with Commander Legends, let's print another paper set, the market can't hold it. We're going to see an absolute just crash in the market. Right now, we're seeing Dawnglare prices across the board. So sealed. Dawnglare is a great site for set EV. We saw all of the gains basically that was gained for the Pioneer booster boxes, the sealed booster boxes, basically eradicate. So we're talking Return to Ravnica, Gatecrash, Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan, Amonkhet that had great increases during March, during the start of the Trump money, the inflation of the US dollar. Those had some very good increases. Even those have flatlined out or began to go down. We've seen we've seen a lot of modern low supply sealed boxes also start to go down, like Shards of Alara. And so it's just showing that people that had these listed on eBay are listing them for a slimmer margin because they have to compete now with Double Masters. We've also seen prices across the board start to creep down for so that what you get the EV out of the boxes, those are creeping down. And all in all, Magic is now headed towards a bear market. The same can be proven if let's just go to modern, let's go total for prices. This is a bad way to do it because they readjust it. MG Goldfish just looks at the cards that were printed and then gives you kind of a baseline. But yeah, this is a terrible one. But if you actually let's click on a set here. Let's go to a Pioneer set. And see if this one will do it with Legacy. I'll have to find a better metric for this, but when Double Masters was printed, we saw an incredible low in the market. Like if you had the metrics for Double Ultimate Masters when it was released, everything was so stagnant for about 6 months across the board, sealed, singles, you name it, across the board. Double Masters stagnated the market, and it took a while to recover. We had a little bit of a resurgence around War of the Spark for many things, and then we also saw this. We saw this decrease in everything from War of the Spark to Theros. That just means that from January of 2019, when it was Ultimate Masters was printed, all the way to January of 2020, we had a pretty weak market in Magic across the board. And I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a full 6 to 12 month bear market be caused by just everything being or everything being funneled into Double Masters, and I don't think the market can absorb it. So I would rather put my money into products that are going to be ignored. Like Ikoria even looks like a better product at this point, or Theros especially looks like a better product long term. Then we could see like a Rivals of Ixalan/Ixalan. Those are the two cards that are two sets that really got hit during this whole Ultimate Masters time period. It was also the success of Dominaria that really hurt the Ultimate Masters, or really hurt the Rivals of Ixalan and Amonkhet type cards. So anything in this time period was really overlooked because these were considered inferior products compared to the stuff that came out during this time period that was considered superior products. But now if you actually look, we have like Hour of Devastation and Omnicat booster boxes approaching like 125, 130, and same with the Rivals of Ixalan. These are hard boxes to actually come by. Domineering was the initial one that spiked up in value, but these ones are catching up. These were considered the trash sets. So we have a lot of what we consider trash sets now with Ikoria and Theros and even Core 2020 and 2021 being considered like really, really inferior. Those might be better places to actually to put your money compared to something like the Double Masters. Ultimate Masters, for context, is still some of the lowest prices I've ever seen. Yes, it has a better spread than Double Masters currently even does, but you got to consider that most people got into Ultimate Masters around the 350 mark. No one was like paying these near distributor prices that you're seeing with Double Masters, where you're seeing boxes go for as low as 260 and VIPs go as low as 83.50. Those are slim margins compared to the distributor price of like 200, low 200s, 200 to 215 for 2XM. Draft boosters. Oh, mind you, by the way, big box stores still are going to have the Double Masters draft packs. That's something that's exclusive to big box stores. That supply hasn't entered the mix yet. That's coming. And then we also see VIPs. This should be going to big box stores, I believe. That was an exclusive product either to, those will be coming as well. So yeah, there's a lot more supply. A lot more supply coming for 2XM. People that think these prices are going to hold, you are absolutely it's insanity level at this point. That if you think your Force of Will is going to be worth $400 when the dust settle, these cards are going to get crushed. They're going to absolutely get crushed. Yes, fun product to open. Yes, this was a cool product. Too soon. With Mystery and Jumpstart should not have been printed in the same time period as Double Masters or Commander Legends or all of this crap that has just come out. Just the product overload in a time period where Magic is actually struggling to get the views. Is struggling. There's no competition going on with the pandemic still in full force. We don't even know if school is going to go back in session where we are. They've pushed it back a couple weeks. They're trying to figure out what to do. These are all bad signs to be flooding the market with this, a set that has unprecedented value in it and was the highest cost price ever. You're going to see burnout. You're going to see, just fatigue in people's ability to purchase these products. And yeah, that's really going to affect the sealed, because the singles prices. What's going to happen is people are going to put their money into Double Masters, and then no one's going to be able to afford the cards. And it's going to cause a chain reaction or just a massive domino effect of these card prices. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. That's where I'm at. Feel free to disagree with me. Feel free to, continue on with those comments if I don't know what I'm talking about. This is what I do for a livelihood. So, I'll take my advice over or no-name internet person. Especially when I think I have showed my work. I mean, you can actually look at this. You can go and plug these numbers in and kind of look at those foil multipliers, which again, I think is going to be between 1.1 and 1.3. That's a terrible foil multiplier, but Double Masters or the VIPs are what's doing that. Commons on commons, those are going to get crushed because of VIPs. Oubliette foil, it's not going to have a good spread. It does right now, but it's not going to. It's just going to be, the supply is going to be way too high for those particular cards from VIPs. I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't like to be someone that is just, drama mama over this stuff. I want to talk positivity, and we will be able to talk positivity. It's going to give we saw with Ultimate Masters, there were some cards that just absolutely bottomed out. There were good pickups. So for those that want to wait, I mean, that's the name of the game, is just slow and steady. You're going to be looking for these cards when they bottom out, when these explorations go down to under $10, if that's what happens. That's when you want to start picking these particular cards up. And there will be some they're just historic time period for buying Magic cards. If we can recover the economy, if we can recover Magic the Gathering, if Magic the Gathering gets another War of the Spark that just leads to just a massive increase in the player population, this will be, when this bottoms out, this will be the time period to be picking up these cards. And a year and a half down the road, those particular singles that you focused on will most likely outperform Double Masters as a whole. That has always been my strategy. I've never liked sealed because it's cumbersome. It's very, very tough to find an outlet where you can sell sealed without getting hit by huge fees with shipping costs, things like that actually do hit your bottom line, where you can be more you can actually target at high volumes particular cards and even buy list them for better percentages than you would get for trying to flip Double Masters 2 years down the road. That's my prediction. If I'm wrong, I'll eat it, I'll own it, I'll admit to it. But I know I'm still someone that likes those Arclight Phoenix and the Cyclonic Rift double ups rather than going for like a slight increase in a sealed booster box. Anyway, this has been Kevin with the Rogue Market. Looking forward to your flaming in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.